This week in news surrounding Israel, more two-state solution madness. Stay tuned, friends, for all the details. Well, shalom, everyone. Welcome once again to this week's newscast. I'm Robert Gottselig, your host. And if you've been following the news surrounding Israel, you know that the talk and push for a two-state solution is by no means a dead issue. No, in last week's newscast, we aired part of our roundtable discussion from our Proclaim conference that we had in Langley, British Columbia, where we discussed the ongoing peace efforts in the Middle East, and biblically, we looked at where things are heading. If you didn't get a chance to watch that, I'd encourage you to go back and watch that, because we need to be fervently praying for our leaders as they are making decisions that will have dire consequences for our countries if they do not change course. And to add to that situation, the U.S. seems to be paving the way to a Palestinian state. The Jewish News Syndicate, reporting on this, informed us that the latest in a series of drafts that Washington has penned of a resolution to the United Nations Security Council suggests the Trump administration believes conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood after the Palestinian Authority undergoes reforms and Gaza's reconstruction is advanced. The draft offers no sense of a timeline for a vote, although the Trump administration reportedly wants infrastructure up and running by year's end for an international stabilization force for the Strip, which would be at the center of the resolution. Washington is trying to codify the creation of an international force in Gaza via the Security Council. The resolution, if passed, would give it and partner countries a broad mandate to govern this and secure the Strip through the end of 2027, if not longer. And then they further went on to report this, that the United States will establish a dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence. A spokesman for the U.S. mission to the global body said on Thursday that we urge the Security Council to seize this historic moment to pave a path towards enduring peace in the Middle East by supporting this resolution. Unfortunately, friends, more talks of a Palestinian state are coming. There's not much we're going to do to stop that. And remember that President Trump's 20-point peace plan allows for the creation of a Palestinian state, provided the Palestinian Authority undergoes reforms which have yet to be clearly identified, in which they have also themselves, the Palestinian Authority, done nothing over the years to do any kind of reforms as far as recognizing and accepting Israel as a Jewish state. Of course, the U.S. drafted UN resolution comes after President Trump also urged Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS for short, in a phone call last month, urging him to normalize relations with Israel following the October 9th ceasefire deal. The Times of Israel reporting on that said this, that during the call, Trump said he had succeeded in ending the war in Gaza and expected Saudi Arabia to move toward full diplomatic ties with Israel, according to a U.S. official cited by Axios. The Crown Prince, Saudi Arabia's de facto leader and widely known as MBS, said he would be willing to work with the White House on the matter, the official said. Times of Israel went on to report that a senior U.S. official cited by Axios said, "Our message to the Saudis is we did all the things you asked for. Now there are things President Trump wants, like normalization with Israel. So how are you guys going to move now in this direction?" Other sources cited by Axios said Saudi Arabia would likely require much firmer language and commitments from Israel on Palestinian statehood to make progress on normalization. Well, for Trump, he really wants the Saudis to join the Abraham Accords, which, if you remember, were started during his first term. But the Saudi Crown Prince, MBS, he wants concrete steps towards a Palestinian state first. Now, some say that the Saudis only say that to appease their Arab neighbors and that they really don't care about the Palestinians. I'm not so sure on that. I guess time will tell. But one thing is for certain, that pushing Israel to make peace with people who wish them dead, that's not going away. The world seems to want to move in that madness direction. And as I'm recording this, the Saudi prince, this is on Monday here, the Saudi crown prince is meeting with President Trump at the White House, which the U.S. is hoping to secure a deal. Of course, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu welcomes normalization with Saudi Arabia, and so do we, friends. To make peace is a good thing with Israel and her neighbors, just not at the expense of a Palestinian state. The Arab world and the Palestinians have had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity for that, and they have rejected it every single time. And thus, this past Sunday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed his opposition to a Palestinian state in any territory west of the Jordan, and rightfully so. But the trouble, friends, that could be coming is that this UN resolution to the United Nations Security Council could carry a lot of clout if passed, as the Security Council has a lot of power and would no doubt use it to put heavy pressure on Israel to accept the terms. And therefore, we have much to pray about. Meanwhile, here in Canada, following our government's shameful decision to formally acknowledge a Palestinian state at the UN General Assembly last September, it's clear that that move did nothing to curb anti-Semitism in Canada. No, instead, it has emboldened pro-Hamas voices and intensified calls from Palestinian supporters to see Israel wiped off the face of the map. We saw that over the weekend as in the cities of Calgary, Winnipeg, and today on Monday in Toronto permitted the raising of the Palestinian flag for the first time. And it was accompanied by the crowd and their chants of Allah Akbar, and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Free from what? Free from a Jewish state. That's what they dream of. No Israel. Have a look, friends.
MashaAllah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar.
Friends, seeing this unfold on Canadian soil, the country where I was raised, is something I never thought I would witness. Shame on our leaders for allowing this to happen. I mean, the idea of rewarding evil and the demonic terror Hamas committed, along with the support of the majority of the Palestinians, is appalling to say the least. Wake up, Canada. Wake up. What are we doing? Well, what does God have to say about all of this, which is the most important? And of course, I'm going to his word to be able to discern that. Well, he tells us to pray for the peace of Jerusalem in Psalm 122, verse 6. Not to be involved in its divisions for two states and for East Jerusalem to be the capital of the Palestinians. That's not what he calls us to do. That brings judgment, by the way. Our leaders need to read Joel chapter 3, verse 2 and Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3, because they're on a collision course with the God of this universe. Instead, they should be praying. And they should be loving what God has established, for he has an everlasting love for his chosen people. Everlasting, it says in Jeremiah 31, verse 3. And he has given the land of Israel to them as an everlasting possession. Read Psalm 105. Makes it very clear. It goes back to a promise he made with Abraham some 4,000 years ago, in which God swore it to himself. He has also placed his name there forever and has put Jerusalem at the center of the world. Ezekiel 5, verse 5. And therefore, wake up, world, because you are at a crossroad. You will either love what God loves, or you are going to follow in the way of the devil, who hates God, his land, and his chosen people. And that is not going to bring prosperity to your country, but rather it will bring God's judgment. Let's look a little more carefully at Psalm 122, verses 6 and 7. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. You want prosperity? Love Jerusalem. Acknowledge that Jerusalem is the capital of the Jewish state of Israel. Friends, it always has been. It's not even mentioned once in the Quran. It's mentioned over 800 times in the Bible. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love thee. Peace be within your walls and prosperity within your palaces. You see, if you want to bring peace to your city, peace to your country, love and pray for the peace of Jerusalem, for Israel and God's chosen people, and peace will be within your walls. For you see, it's a heart issue, because when your heart is tuned towards God's heart, friends, blessing will come your way. But if not, as Zechariah wrote, all who burden themselves with Jerusalem will one day be cut in pieces. And with that, friends, and until next time, thanks for joining us on another episode of In News Surrounding Israel.